September 1st, 1939. Dawn breaks over the sleepy border town of Gleiwitz, in the shadow of Germany's eastern frontier. A young SS officer, his uniform crisp and his hands steady despite the pounding in his chest, adjusts the microphone in a dimly lit radio station. He's not alone. Bodies of concentration camp prisoners, dressed in Polish uniforms and riddled with bullets, lie strewn across the floor. This is no random act of violence, it's a meticulously staged farce, orchestrated by Heinrich Himmler's secret police. The officer clears his throat and broadcasts a frantic message in broken Polish. This is the Polish station at Gleiwitz. We have taken over. It's a lie, a spark designed to ignite the world. In Berlin, miles away, Adolf Hitler paces the grand halls of the Reich Chancellery, his mind a whirlwind of ambition and resentment. Just hours earlier, he confided in his inner circle, Göring, Goebbels, Ribbentrop, the final details of Fall Weiss, the code name for the invasion of Poland. The time has come, he tells them, his voice low and fervent, eyes burning with the fire of a man who sees himself as destiny's chosen. Hitler, the failed artist turned Führer, carries the scars of World War I's trenches and the humiliation of Versailles. For him, this isn't just war, it's redemption, a chance to rewrite history and carve out a 1,000-year Reich from the ashes of Europe. As German panzers rumble across the border at 4:45 a.m., shattering the fragile peace of the continent, the stakes couldn't be higher. Poland, a nation reborn after a century of partition, now faces annihilation between two tyrants, Hitler from the west, and Stalin, his unlikely ally through the secret Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact signed just days before on August 23. In Warsaw, families huddle in basements, whispers of defiance mixing with the distant thunder of artillery. Britain and France, bound by treaties, issue ultimatums, but their words ring hollow against the blitzkrieg's roar. This is no isolated conflict, it's the opening salvo in Hitler's grand vision, a war against the world, fueled by racial ideology and dreams of Lebensraum, living space for the Aryan race. The human cost begins immediately. In the first hours, civilians flee bombed villages, their lives upended by the line of Stuka dive bombers. Hitler, watching from his command center, feels the thrill of power, but beneath it lurks the paranoia that will drive him deeper into madness. As the Wehrmacht advances, capturing Danzig and pushing toward Warsaw, the Führer's plan unfolds: conquer Poland swiftly, then turn west to settle old scores with France, and eventually east to crush the Bolshevik menace. But in this moment, as the sun rises on a bloodied Europe, the world holds its breath, unaware that the fight has only just begun. By mid-September 1939, the Polish plains are burning. Columns of gray-clad German infantry advance behind the thunder of panzer divisions, their tracks churning the earth into dust. In the skies above, Luftwaffe pilots hunt in packs, strafing retreating columns of Polish cavalry and horse-drawn artillery, images that will soon feed the myth of blitzkrieg invincibility. Warsaw still holds, ringed by fire, its people digging barricades in the streets while radio broadcasts plead for help that will never come. In the Führer headquarters, now moved forward to a specially fitted armored train near the front, Adolf Hitler watches the maps change hour by hour. On September 19th, he enters the free city of Danzig in triumph, standing in an open Mercedes as crowds roar Sieg Heil beneath swastika banners. For a moment, the old bitterness fades. Here is the corridor stolen from Germany at Versailles, now reclaimed. Here is proof that his will can bend history. Yet even in victory, Hitler's mind races ahead. Poland is merely the first step. Back in Berlin, his generals pore over the next phase. The swift collapse of Polish resistance, faster than even the most optimistic projections, has intoxicated the high command. Army Group South has sliced through Krakow in days. Army Group North has linked up across the corridor. On September 17th, as agreed in the secret protocols of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Red Army troops cross Poland's eastern border without declaration of war. Stalin's forces move with brutal efficiency, arresting officers, intellectuals, anyone who might resist. The partition begins in earnest, two ideologies carving up a nation like butchers at a slab. But Hitler is already restless. In private meetings with his closest aides, he speaks of the West with contempt. Britain and France declared war on September 3rd, yet their armies sit idle behind the Maginot Line. He calls it Sitzkrieg, sitting war, and mocks Chamberlain's hesitation. To his generals, he confides a deeper obsession, the Jewish Bolshevik threat in the East. Poland was practice, the real war, the ideological crusade, lies ahead. He orders planning to begin immediately for Falkgelb, the invasion of France and the Low Countries, while quietly directing resources toward the ultimate confrontation with the Soviet Union. In the ruins of Polish towns, the human toll mounts. Einsatzgruppen death squads follow the Wehrmacht, rounding up Jews, priests, professors. Mass executions begin in earnest. For the conquered, the nightmare has only started. And in the Führer's fevered vision, this is just a prelude to a war that will engulf continents, a fight not just for territory, but for the supposed survival of a master race against the world arrayed against it. October 6, 1939. In the opulent Kroll Opera House, transformed into the Reichstag's makeshift chamber, Adolf Hitler stands at the podium, his voice echoing through the hall filled with uniformed loyalists. "I have no further territorial demands to make in Europe," he declares, his words a calculated deception, even as the ink dries on Poland's surrender. Warsaw fell on September 27 after weeks of relentless bombardment, its streets reduced to rubble, civilians buried under the weight of collapsed buildings. Now, with the nation divided between Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia, Hitler extends an olive branch to the west, or so it seems. In truth, it's a ploy to buy time, to lull Britain and France into complacency while he sharpens the blade for the next strike. The winter of 1939 to 1940 settles over Europe like a shroud, a period the press dubs the phony war. Allied troops hunker down along the French border, drilling in the mud, while German forces regroup and rearm. But in the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's temporary headquarters in East Prussia, the Führer broods over maps with his generals. Brauchitsch and Halder, the army's top brass, argue for delay. The Wehrmacht needs time to digest Poland's conquest, to repair tanks and stockpile ammunition. Hitler dismisses them with a wave, his temper flaring. The spirit of the German soldier will prevail, he insists, driven by an unshakable belief in his own genius. Secretly, he's obsessed with the North. Norway's iron ore shipments through neutral waters, vital for his war machine, must be secured before the British intervene. On April 9, 1940, the hammer falls. Operation Weserübung unleashes German paratroopers and naval forces on Denmark and Norway in a daring preemptive strike. Copenhagen surrenders in hours, Oslo resists longer, but Quisling's traitorous radio broadcast sows confusion. In the fjords, British ships clash with the Kriegsmarine, but Hitler's gamble pays off. Narvik's ports fall, ensuring the flow of Swedish ore. The human price is steep, Norwegian civilians caught in crossfire, Allied sailors lost to icy waters. Yet for Hitler, this is validation. Emboldened, he turns his gaze westward, where the real test awaits. In Berlin's chancellery, as spring thaws the ground, Directive No. 10 is issued on May 10, 1940, Falkgelb erupts. Panzers under Guderian and Rommel crash through the Ardennes forest, bypassing the Maginot Line in a masterstroke of deception. Dutch and Belgian defenses crumble, Rotterdam burns under Luftwaffe bombs. In London, Chamberlain resigns, and Churchill vows to fight on beaches and fields. But Hitler's forces race to the Channel, trapping hundreds of thousands of Allied troops at Dunkirk. As the evacuation miracle unfolds from May 26 to June 4, the Führer halts his tanks, a fateful hesitation, born of overconfidence or Göring's boasts about air power. France teeters on collapse, and in Hitler's mind, the path to total domination clears. First crush the West, then pivot east to the ultimate enemy. June 22, 1940. In the Compiègne forest, north of Paris, Adolf Hitler steps from his Mercedes into the same railway car where Germany signed the armistice in 1918. His face is a mask of controlled triumph as French generals, defeated and humiliated, ink the new surrender. France has fallen in 6 weeks, a blitzkrieg miracle that stuns the world. Paris, the city of light, now marches to the beat of jackboots on the Champs-Élysées. Hitler tours the Eiffel Tower briefly, posing for photos, but his thoughts are already elsewhere. Now we turn to England, he mutters to aides, though in his heart, a greater obsession stirs. With the West subdued, Hitler's gaze shifts east. Operation Barbarossa, the code name for the invasion of the Soviet Union, begins to take shape in secret bunkers. On July 31, 1940, he gathers his generals at the Berghof, his Alpine retreat, and outlines the plan, a massive three-pronged assault to crush Stalin's empire before winter. Army Group North to Leningrad, Center to Moscow, south to the Ukraine's grain fields and oil. The world will hold its breath, he proclaims, ignoring warnings about supply lines and the Red Army's vastness. Göring promises air supremacy, Himmler envisions racial purification. For Hitler, this is ideological holy war, National Socialism versus Communism, Aryan versus Slav and Jew. As autumn fades, tensions simmer. Britain refuses to yield, enduring the Blitz from September 7, 1940, onward. London skies ablaze with firebombs, civilians sheltering in tube stations amid the wail of sirens. Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of England, falters when the Luftwaffe loses the Battle of Britain, fought in the skies from July to October. Hitler's frustration boils. He postpones the cross-channel assault indefinitely. Instead, he courts allies, Mussolini's Italy, already bogged down in Greece, Franco's Spain, wary after civil war, Japan, eyeing the Pacific. The Tripartite Pact, signed September 27, 1940, binds the Axis powers in a global web. In the occupied territories, the machinery of terror accelerates. In Poland and France, ghettos swell with the persecuted, deportations begin. The human suffering deepens, families torn apart, villages razed in reprisals. Hitler's war economy ramps up, fueled by slave labor from conquered lands. Yet doubts creep in among his staff, some whisper of overreach. Undeterred, on December 18, 1940, he issues Directive No. 21, Barbarossa is set for spring. As snow blankets Europe, the Führer dreams of vast conquests, blind to the gathering storm. The fight against the world escalates, drawing in continents, with millions poised on the brink of unimaginable horror. June 22, 1941. In the pre-dawn hush of the Führerbunker beneath the Reich Chancellery, Adolf Hitler awakens abruptly, his sleep haunted by visions of endless steppes and unyielding winters. He dresses quickly, summoning aides to confirm the final orders. Operation Barbarossa launches at 3:15 a.m., the largest invasion in history. 3 million German troops, supported by Finnish, Romanian, and Italian allies, surging across a 1,800-mile front into Soviet territory. Panzers roar through the borderlands, catching Red Army units off guard, their commanders paralyzed by Stalin's refusal to believe intelligence warnings. The initial weeks are a whirlwind of triumph. Army groups enter in circles Minsk by July 9th, capturing hundreds of thousands of prisoners in vast Kessel battles. Leningrad is besieged by September 8th, its population starving under relentless shelling. In the south, Kiev falls on September 19th, another pocket yielding over 600,000 captives. Hitler, monitoring from his new headquarters at Wolfschanz in East Prussia, exults in dispatches. The Russian is finished, he declares to Halder, ignoring the mounting casualties and the Red Army's stubborn retreats. But cracks appear, supply lines stretch thin over mud-choked roads, and the vastness of Russia swallows divisions whole. As autumn rains turn to frost, the war globalizes. On December 7, 1941, Japanese bombers strike Pearl Harbor, drawing America into the fray. Hitler, seeing opportunity, declares war on the United States 4 days later, December 11, binding his fate to the Axis in a truly worldwide conflict. Now it's Germany against the industrial might of the Allies, Britain's resolve, America's factories, the Soviet Union's endless manpower. In Berlin, Goebbels ramps up propaganda, portraying the struggle as a defense against encirclement, but the people sense the shift, rationing bites deeper, air raids loom. The Eastern Front devours men and machines. The drive on Moscow stalls in the snows of December 1941, just miles from the Kremlin spires. Hitler sacks generals, assuming direct command, his decisions growing erratic amid amphetamine-fueled rages. Stalingrad beckons in 1942, a meat grinder that will claim over 1 million lives by February 1943's surrender. In North Africa, Rommel's Afrika Korps falters at El Alamein in October 1942. The Holocaust intensifies, with death camps like Auschwitz operational by spring 1942, systematizing the genocide Hitler envisioned as part of his racial war. Allied landings in Normandy on June 6, 1944, crack the Atlantic Wall, while Soviet offensives push westward. Hitler's isolation deepens, an assassination attempt on July 20, 1944, at Wolfschanz fails, unleashing purges. By April 1945, as Red Army artillery pounds Berlin, the Führer huddles in his bunker, a shadow of the man who once dreamed of fighting the world. His plan, born of hubris, crumbles amid the ruins, leaving a continent scarred in humanity forever changed by the abyss of total war.